This is Seth Scrimo with the Best of Wooster podcast. I'm your host, and today I have Jeremiah Stivers. He is one of the ministers here at Ripley Church of Christ. Jeremiah, what do you got to say today?
Well, Seth and I we're good friends. We both attend here at Ripley Church of Christ. Seth is one of our deacons, and we're in a small group together. And you told me you were starting this podcast, and I said, "Hey, I'd love to get on because I have something exciting for the new year." And we'll get to that here in a little bit. So just excited to kind of talk about our church, our relationship, and how I got into ministry and how that just affects everything for me from being a dad, which I know you're real big on fatherhood, and how that affects me throughout my life.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremiah. So, question number one: what does being a dad mean to you, and how has it shaped your approach to ministry?
Well, obviously, being a dad, I think, is the most important role that I have. And I even put that over being in ministry. If I'm not a good minister to my children, then my ministry at the church is going to fail. So I want my children to realize that they are, at the top of my priority list. And that kind of affects how I parent and also minister, knowing that for each of my children.
Can you share a moment with us when you felt most fulfilled in your role as both a father and a pastor?
Well, I think for as a father and a pastor, if I combine them both together, I have three kids. I have a son named Liam, who's 13, a daughter Aslan, who's 11, and another daughter Hattie, who's 5, getting ready to turn 6. And Liam and Aslan have both been baptized, and I had the opportunity to baptize both of my children. I'm sure one day Hattie will make that same decision as we just continue to minister to her as well, and I try to raise her in a godly home. So being able to have the opportunity to baptize my two oldest children and hopefully in the future my youngest child, that's just a very rewarding thing as a parent, but also as a minister.
All right, awesome. Yeah. How did you recognize your calling into ministry, and what role did your faith play in that realization?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home and grew up as a PK, pastor's kid. My dad is still in ministry today. And so I kind of grew up around ministry and for a long time kind of tried to stay away from that. Didn't want to be in that realm. Knew I wanted to do something with music and kind of thought about being a music teacher. But I remember going to a conference called Summer in the Sun, and it's a Christian youth conference down at Kentucky Christian University. And I just saw people leading worship and experiencing that. And I just really felt that God was saying, "Hey, I gave you this gift of music, and this is something that I want you to use for me." And so growing up around the church and growing up in a home that encouraged me to grow in my faith. Going to that conference played a really big role, which led me to go to that same college, Kentucky Christian University, study worship ministry, and just get involved in different churches along the way through college. And then was at a church in Naples, Florida, and then 2011 ended up here at Ripley.
Yeah, you stole thunder from me. The next question was, how did you come to Ripley?
That's just a crazy story of how God works. Um, wasn't really looking at the time to come to Ripley. I was at a church in Florida, Naples Christian Church. We loved it there. We had just had our oldest son, Liam, so we knew that at some point we wanted to move back to Ohio. This is home for both my wife and I. This is where the grandparents live, and so we wanted to eventually come back to Ohio. And at the time, the church was kind of in Florida, was struggling a little financially, and we just made the decision, hey, we're gonna make it easy on you. That way, you don't have to cut anybody. I'm gonna resign. I'm gonna trust God that He'll help me find a job. And we came home to visit at Christmas time, and someone from our church worked at the hospital with my mom and said, "Hey, your son's looking." I know at one point we talked about hiring a worship minister, and so reached out to the other pastor here, Tom Benter, and said, "Hey, would love to sit down and talk with you." And just kind of fell into place. And that was January 2012, and got hired in February 2012, and never missed a paycheck from the time I left from Florida to the time I started here at Ripley. God just provided for us. And so I definitely really felt God leading to us to Ripley, even if at the time we didn't really think that's what was going to be the case.
Awesome. Yeah, God works in mysterious ways. That is for sure. What has been the most rewarding part of leading worship and being on the preaching?
I think it's just seeing people realize who they are in Christ. That no matter what they've done, no matter what whatever past mistakes that they've had, that there is a God, the God who loves them. And seeing people surrender their lives, whether it be through music, whether it be through the words that we speak, where God uses us through the messages to reach the lost, for people to surrender their lives to Christ. It's just fulfilling to see people make life changes. And it's not really anything that we're doing. We're not the people that's going to change their lives. We're just being used by the one who will change their life. So it's rewarding, it's fulfilling knowing that the work that we do, the time, the effort that we put into preparing the music, preparing the sermons, that God is using us so that he can change lives. And it's just pretty rewarding, pretty fulfilling to be part of that.
For sure. So speaking of work and challenges, right? How did you overcome COVID and anxiety that came from that? How did it impact you early on your ministry journey? And what are some of the lessons you learned from that?
Well, COVID, just like everyone else, kind of threw us for a curveball. So we were meeting as a church, and then our last meeting was that first Sunday in March, and we decided to shut down, just like pretty much almost every other church in the United States for the most part, and go to online services. At that time, we didn't have online services, had never really messed around with Facebook Live, YouTube, had done some video editing, but hadn't done anything like that to that point. And so we really had to learn how to do all this stuff on the fly, video editing and creating content, posting it on Facebook and YouTube and other types of social media. And I think while a lot of people enjoyed being home at the time, for us, for myself, really, I'm an extrovert, and I think that's why I enjoy ministry so much. It was hard because we aren't seeing the people we see on Sunday morning. We know people are struggling. We couldn't meet with them face to face. And even after we opened back up, it was still a lot of, do we have people wear masks? Do we not have people wear masks? How do we have them social distance? What do we do when people start getting COVID again? And we actually had that in December. Our whole staff got COVID. And so we had to shut down for a couple of weeks. And that just created a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, but also a lot of really learning to trust God in those situations. Throughout all of that, as a church, we didn't really struggle financially. We were blessed with that. People still gave, people were very supportive. We were able to actually, through doing this YouTube and through social media and putting our sermons and services live on Sunday mornings, we were actually able to reach a group of Christians in Romania who didn't have a church, and they were watching our church services. And so we didn't know that for a couple of years. So, all this stuff is happening. God still used us to reach people all the way across the world through our live services. And so it's just been a journey. It was very anxious filled at times, but rewarding again at the same time.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So speaking about community, what do you find most special about fostering that community through worship and the small groups that you help with?
Well, I think community is so important for people today. And I think we saw that after COVID, where we were secluded to our homes. I would say that both of us are extroverts with some introvert tendencies. We like to have our alone time, but I think we both do very well around people. Obviously, in your profession, being a personal trainer and working with people, you build a good rapport with people. But we're in the same small group, and we meet on Fridays, and it's just been great for us to be able to do life together. Our kids are friends. When one of us is sick or struggling or whatever, like, we're helping each other out. When we've added to our family, we've done meals for each other. We've done different things. When Ariel's dad, my wife, when her dad was sick, our small group jumped in, helped out in many different ways. And that doesn't happen in most places, but it happens in a community. And so it's really great just to have these people you can do life with, that you can grow with, you can cry with, you can walk through the struggles in life together. And I just think that's something that is so important for people to find, and would love for them to find it in the church.
For sure, yeah. Speaking about finding something, what are some of your favorite scriptures that have helped you grow as a leader, as well as some other podcasts?
Well, Psalm 23, as crazy, or I wouldn't say crazy, as cliche as that sounds, that's something that through life has just continued to guide me. That the Lord is my shepherd. He guides me. He makes me lie beside still waters. He restores my soul. Especially during COVID, wasn't really feeling my soul. I was just working and trying to connect with people, and was just tired, and just kind of really struggled personally after that, and had to allow God to be the one to fill my cup. But, I also love in there where it says, I shall not want. There have been times that, just like I think any other person in life, struggled financially. Maybe didn't get everything that I wanted, but I was never in need. And I know that that God has done that for me. And so Psalm 23 is just one that I just gravitate through different periods throughout my life. Also in Timothy where it says God has given us not a spirit of fear or timidity, but a spirit of power and love. And for someone that has struggled with anxiety, it's just a reminder that this anxiety was not given to me by God. This anxiety has been given to me through things in this world, things that I've tried to replace with God. But that peace, that comfort, that fearlessness, that comes from God. Knowing that through Him, through the Holy Spirit, through what Christ has done for me, it's just been a good reminder that anxiety doesn't have a control over me when I surrendered to Christ. For different podcasts, there's a podcast I love to listen to called Practically Pastoring. They're down in most of them are located in Florida, but they kind of just talk about what they're doing in their churches and how other churches can, emulate what they're doing, or they give ideas, or they talk about what other churches have done. That's just a good practical one. I love Carey Newhoff, who's a leader, spiritual leader up in Canada. He does a leadership podcast. Craig Rochelle, many people have probably heard of him. He does Life Church TV. He does a leadership podcast. What I love about those is that they're for everyone who is from church like our size, 2 to 300, all the way up to mega churches. And so those are two good podcasts that I like to listen to as well.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. So, working with other churches in the area, how do you feel networking has influenced your ability to serve both your congregation and the wider community that we live in?
Well, our church has done a lot of networking through other churches in the county, Holmes and Wayne. I know that your podcast is the best of Wooster, which is located in Wayne County. But we pull a lot of people from Worcester and do a lot of stuff with people from Worcester. We've done Good Friday services together, just because Easter is a busy time of the year. We've done church services together at West Holmes High School. We've done things together through Round Lake, and it just makes it easy because the network, because we can't do everything sometimes financially, so sometimes it's nice to have other people come in and help you out. But even just different resources, different churches have different people there with different gifts, and so it's just a great way to connect. And even there have been Sunday mornings where we were like, shoot, we're out of communion, and we call a church, Nashville Church of Christ, just down the road, and we can go pick up communion, and vice versa. They came and picked up communion supplies from us. Or one Sunday we didn't have power, and so a group of us just went down to Nashville Church of Christ. It's just good to have those networks, because even though we're different churches, we're all on the same team. We're not competing. We're all working for the same Savior, the same God. So it makes it easier to network and work together that way.
Yeah, no, I can see that. So, what significant changes in your ministry approach have made the biggest impact on how you?
I mean, I hate going back to COVID, but I think COVID definitely has taught us that community is so important. Connecting with people beyond Sunday morning, whether that's at the gym or whether that's getting together with them during the week or getting them connected with other people. We're not going to able us personally as pastors connect with each person, but if we know that a family comes in and it's a mom and dad, they got 3 kids, we're going to connect them with somebody else that's got kids their age. Or if someone that they come in and we find out that they're a widow, we're going to get them connected with other widows. And so I think just realizing that community is so important. But even just personally, like, I feel like my gifts have changed and started to shift. You're here at our church leading worship for the past 13, 14 years, and have slowly just integrated into the preaching team. And we're having a transition here at our church where we're taking over as the lead pastor. And so excited for that. You would have told me when I graduated college that that would have been my role, I probably would have laughed at you. But I definitely think God has used me through to be the youth minister for a while, so did a lot of teaching that way. That those gifts started to develop, and so I think realizing that community is important. I think allowing God to use me and let my gifts change, and just being open to God to use you in those situations has really changed how I approach ministry. Well, we have started to see influx of newer families and younger families, and I think that's important. We've got a great youth group. Our youth minister, Mike South, does a great job, and the rest of the staff here, myself and Tom, we try to be a church that is real, that who we are on Sunday mornings is who you're going to see throughout the week. Um, would love to see just again community develop. As hopefully our church grows numerically, over 5 years, as you said in the question. Would also love to see just the people who are here grow deeper in their connection with Christ and each other. So as people come in, getting them connected, having communities, small groups, different studies that meet together. Because as you grow numerically, that's more people, you start to feel like maybe less connected. But if they're into a small group, they're into a community of people, that keeps them connected. So I would just love to see us grow more in that area, and I think that's where we're starting to shift towards and trend to over the next few years.
Yeah. So the next few years, obviously, you're going to become the lead minister here at Ripley. What excites you the most about
I think just being able to allow God to use me to be just a catalyst again for life change, and being someone that is from this area, from Holmes County, but have connections to Wayne County as well. Just want to see this area continue to get people connected to Christ through this ministry. It's not about anything that I do. I hope when people see Ripley Church of Christ, they don't say, oh, it's awesome because of our lead pastor Jeremiah Stivers, or it's awesome because of our youth minister Mike South, or it's awesome because whatever. I want them to say it's awesome because it's a group of people who love Jesus and serve Jesus, and they want people to know Jesus. I'm just part of that. I don't want to be the main person, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see how God's going to use me. I'm excited to see how God is going to help me grow in these areas. There's going to be challenges. That's obvious with any type of change like this, but definitely excited for what's to come in the future.
it? Okay. So I'm going to take this back a little bit. For someone who's feeling being called to ministry, what advice would you give them about prayer and starting to serve?
Well, I think those are two things that you have to do if you're interested in ministry. One, you got to pray about it. We could spend a long time talking about calling and stuff, and that's not what this podcast is about. So we won't go into that. But you have to be called into ministry. And so I think it's spending a lot of time in prayer and spending time around people who invest in you and say, hey, this is where I see you going in your life. I can see you going into ministry. But also it's just starting to serve. Ministry is different than most other jobs where it's not a 9 to 5 job. You clock in, I have my days off. Yes, I try to put my phone away in the evenings as much as possible, but emergencies happen. People get sick, people die, people need counseling. They need, so you have to be able to learn how to do those things. Sometimes serving is, being the first one there and the last one to leave. It's, doing things of doing the dishes, taking out the trash when you don't want to do that, but it's setting the example for other people. And so if you start doing that before you become a minister or get into ministry, you start building those habits and those qualities now. That's going to help you out a lot in the long run.
So one of the things that we talked about earlier was community and why it's important. How can people strengthen their sense of community and relationships within their own church?
I think if you're involved in a church and you're looking to just have different communities, just get a group of people that either are in the same boat as life as you, or just get different people who've been in different situations in life and just meet together for a meal. There's great resources. There's a great company called Right Now Media where they can find different Bible studies to go through together that are video based. It's even just sitting down reading through scripture together. And I think there's a couple of reasons why I said find people that are going through the same things you're going through in life, but also find people who've been through different things in life. In our small group, we have people who are, our age. We're in our 30s. We have kids. Our kids are all young. We have people that their kids are graduating high school or they're in their 20s. We have people in our small group that their kids are really little. I mean, they're babies. We have people in our small group that their kids are all adults. They have grandchildren now. And it's nice to have that because we've all been through different parts of life. And when we have different things that we're struggling through, we can go to those who are older than us or those that are younger than us. We can say, hey, kind of see this is happening in your life. This is what we did. This is some advice that we would recommend. And you know that the people who are giving this advice to you or that you're going to advice for, that they love you, that they have a connection. So it's just finding people and just setting time, making it a priority to get together once a week or every other week and just try to find some consistency and grow together because it's so important.
It is. So a big thing with me, with what I do when I connect with people, is love to get coffee with people. And I see that you're an avid coffee drinker. Your coffee place of choice is Sure House Coffee. What do you enjoy most about connecting with people?
Well, yeah, as you said, we're both avid coffee drinkers. We probably drink too much coffee. We've met together at Sure House numerous times for different things, and I think Wooster has just a lot of great places for coffee. There's Sure House, there's Local Roots with Boo Brews, there's the new coffee shop there at the library. There's just so many places, but I think one for me, I love to go to those places and work on my sermon and stuff like that because it allows me to be in the community. And there's been times where I've been sitting there at Sure House and I'll have my Bible out or have some notes or a book that I'm using there as a resource, and other pastors will come up to me and say, "Hey, what are you preaching on?" Or if someone will come and say, "Hey, what's that book about?" And it gives me an opportunity to maybe talk to someone who doesn't know Christ. I think just sitting down at a coffee shop, being in the community, being at a place like even if you don't like coffee, they've got tea, they've got some sort of drink. There's usually pastries. Everyone loves pastries. I mean, Sure House has their pretzels. They're really good. And so I think it's an opportunity. It instead of sitting down in my office where someone may be intimidated, sitting down over a cup of coffee and just having just a conversation. Don't want to make them feel like they're being lectured to or scolded. It just creates a more relaxed environment.
Oh, for sure. So on the questionnaire for the podcast, the movie that you chose was Remember the Titans, which is a very inspiring choice. But what life lessons from that movie resonate with your own experiences in ministry or fatherhood?
Well, I think for ministry, what I love about that movie is, you're bringing two different groups of people together. You're bringing the school of, that where these schools were segregated. You're bringing a school of the white people in the community, and you're bringing the African Americans in the community, and they're now coming together in one school, and that's a challenge. And church, we're bringing people from all walks of life. We're bringing people that maybe have known Jesus for a long time. We've got people coming into our doors that's the first time they've been in a church building. We've got people who have struggled with drugs and alcohol. We have people who come in that they've been divorced. We have people who come in who they've never been married and they're struggling with the thought of that. We have people who have lost their children, their spouses. There's people here that they're not even sure what they believe, but we're all coming together and we're bringing a different personalities of people, and it's just a good thing for what I love about that movie is you see the struggles that they go through, but then the unity that they have at the end. And going back to what I said about fulfillment, seeing people come in with life change. I think of one of our friends that we have here at our church, Steve Adams, that when he came here to our church for the first time, he was angry, he was bitter, he just was really struggling in life. And I remember the day he came forward and surrendered his life to Jesus and got baptized, and it was just a weight lifted off his shoulders. And to see that life change, knowing that when he came in, he was different than most people here, and he was okay with that. And now we're united through Christ. So I love how that movie, they take people that come from different walks of life and they come together as a team. They rally together, and so it's just a good reminder that as a church that we're bringing people from different walks of life, but we all have the same purpose, and that is to come to know Jesus and to find new life, new creation, a new beginning in Him.
All right. Yeah. So, speaking of beginnings, 2025 is right around the corner. What is going on at Ripley in 2025 that people need to know?
So I have a lot of exciting things happening, and that's why when you had said you were starting this podcast, I said I'd love to come on at the beginning of the year. I'm starting a series here at the beginning of the year called Rhythms, and you being someone who is in the personal training field, you're really good at helping people create habits, but also creating discipline so they continue those habits. And so this series is called Rhythms, and we're going to be looking at why we need to have spiritual disciplines in our life, why we need to have, you know, times of prayer, why we need to have worship, why we need to serve, why we need to have times of confession so that we can seek forgiveness, why we need to be studying scripture, and why we need to be doing those consistently. So we're going to be looking at over the next 6 weeks and about how we're going to be able to experience God through these disciplines. But over those 6 weeks, we're going to be kind of doing a challenge where each week, based on what we're talking about, you're going to have scripture to read, you're going to have activities to do, you're going to be challenged to kind of pick something to fast from, whether it may be, some sort of social media or something else in your life it's kind of got control over you. And so really excited to instill these disciplines into the new year. And so that'll be starting here this Sunday, January 5th. Would love people to come check out our church if they don't have a church home. We meet at 10:15 on Sunday mornings, or even if you want to find us on Facebook or YouTube, if you want to check us out that way for the first time, that's okay too. But other things that we're excited about. We're doing an event in February called the Hunger Bowl, where we're going to be packing over 20,000 meals for International Disaster Emergency Service. That's a mission that we support. Anytime that there is a natural disaster in the United States, or even sometimes out of the States, they go there and they're kind of the boots on the ground. When those hurricanes came up through Tennessee, they were there getting people food, getting people back on their feet. So we're going to be packing over 20,000 meals that can just be heated up real quickly, that'll stay good for a long time. We're going to be doing that on February 2nd. So excited for that. And then another thing that we have come up this summer that you and I are both excited about is we have a mission trip to Sholo, Arizona. This will be our third, my fourth time, your third time going. And there's an organization there that we support called American Indian Christian Mission, which is a school for Navajo and Apache children on the reservation there outside of Sholo, Arizona. But when we go there during the summer, we go out on the reservation every day, and we're spending time with children and other Apache Indians that don't have a lot. It's really kind of, when you get there, it's really kind of humbling knowing that in the United States is this area that's kind of like a third world country. We see a lot of kids with medical issues who are struggling with malnourishment. They're not getting enough food and water. And we give them food, we give them water. But most of all, we do a vacation Bible school with them. We tell them about Jesus. And so I'm just going to give a shameless plug. If there are any businesses in Wooster or in the area that would love to help support our church on this mission trip, get connected with Seth. He can tell you all about it. He does a great job for us on this trip, and it's something that we both have just had a rewarding experience doing that trip. So excited for all that, and would just love for you to come check out our church sometime. We'd love to meet you, love to get connected with you, and just uh, tell you about Jesus.
So that was my closing question here is how can people get connected with Ripley? What would be the fastest?
Yeah, if they go to our website, ripleycoc.com, they could also check us out on Facebook or on YouTube. We live stream our services. You can see other services, past services there. If you want to check us out that way first, understand, but would love most of all just to meet you in person. And if you got any questions, there's nothing that we won't answer, nothing we won't talk about, and would love to meet people and love to tell them about Jesus and what He's done for my life. And I know that you do that through your platform, and love that about you. So yeah, they can check us out on our website again, ripleycoc.com, or check us out on Sunday mornings. We're just right outside of Shreve, right next to Whispering Hills Campground. Our services are at 10:15.
All right, folks. There you have it. That is Jeremiah Stivers from Ripley Church of Christ here in Big Prairie. Thank you for listening to the Best of Wooster podcast. If you need any other contact information, you can reach out to myself at 330-221-1547. Have a great day. Bye.